It's time now for our meditation. For our meditation this morning, we're going to decorate a Christmas tree. And we're going to see it as a tree of life. We're going to adorn our tree with the fruits of spiritual consciousness. So, get settled. Settle into your chair in a comfortable position. Let your shoulders fall off your ears. Relax. Take a couple of deep breaths and close your eyes. Begin to see through the eyes of your imagination. See yourself getting the perfect tree. Maybe you buy it from Home Depot, or maybe you go out into the woods and cut it, the perfect tree. And see yourself taking that tree home, probably tied to the top of the car. And just the branches just fluffing in the breeze. Now, take that tree in the house and place it in a sturdy stand. Maybe it's in the living room so everybody can see it. Well, it's all stable in its stand. Since it's a fresh tree, it's watered and it's ready for decoration. First, let's put some lights on it. Maybe a few stars from the heavens, encircling your tree in a light of peace. And now it's time for ornaments. But we'll use construction paper like we did when we were children. Let's cut out some butterflies. And we'll place those butterflies on the tree. Maybe they're yellow ones, white ones, blue ones. These butterflies represent the spirit of life in your heart. Let's cut some hearts out and place them on the tree. They symbolize the love in your heart that goes forth to all persons. Remember when you were a child and made paper link chains? Let's do that. Make a long, long paper link chain. Make it go all around and up and down the tree. This chain symbolizes friendship. We need a little more sparkle. Let's grab a few more stars, maybe some fairy dust, and sprinkle that on your tree. Can't you just see it? It's just all aglow, sparkling with joy. And to finish our tree, we need to put an angel on the top, the very top of the tree. This represents the angelic spirit of the Christ process within each person. Stand by your tree. Admire it. It's gorgeous. And you have a magic wand in your hand. Wave it over your tree and awaken the childlike wonder within you. Let the wand bring happiness into your heart. And now sit at the foot of your tree. Just take it in. Love it. And see that world, that love going out into the world in the silence. In the silence. When you're ready, begin to move your arms and legs. Open your eyes. Return to this time and place. And remember, you can revisit your tree anytime. Good morning again. This is a little reading from Julia Cameron's Transitions. Sometimes our lives are torn asunder. The tornado of change comes to us swiftly and seemingly without mercy. What was is no longer. We're cast adrift. The fabric of our existence is torn end to end. Even in times of such extreme transition, there is an underlying working toward the good. Even in times in which grief blinds us, in which we rage against our fate, there is a tide that can move us toward growth and healing. I like this because it summarizes the story that I'm going to tell you and what I hope you take from today, because this is the second Sunday of Advent, and we are talking about peace. And what is peace but a state of consciousness we all aspire to? We all want to live in peace and love. Now, the dictionary defines peace as freedom from disturbance, tranquility. As a truth student, that just falls a little bit flat for me. I just think there's so much more to it. It's a deeper, richer something. And I want to tell you a story about a man who lived a peaceful life, much as we did a year ago. And it fell apart through no fault of his own. I read this story several years ago, and it just sticks with me. I keep coming back to it. I sort of marinate in all the levels of meaning that it has for me. And to tell the truth, it reads like a comedy. It's like a farce of human contrivance, and it comes from the Hebrew Bible. Here at Christmas, I'm talking about the Hebrew Bible. So, Job, chapter 1. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was innocent and upright, and one who revered God and turned away from evil. And there were born to him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance was 7,000 sheep, and 3,000 camels, and 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 she-asses, and a very great household. So that this man was the greatest of all the men of the East. Now, Job is what we used to call a God-fearing man. He loved and respected the God of his understanding. He followed all the religious rites. He made the burnt offerings. He did the prayers. He did all the formalities of the religion. And he was a happy man, doing exactly what he thought was expected of him. Unbeknownst to Job, God had a meeting with Satan. Now, God spoke very highly of Job. Satan was looking for some mischief, you see. And God said, Job is a righteous man, and he will not be swayed by you. And Satan said, oh, give me a shot at him. So the challenge was on. Job's life began to fall apart. First, his livestock is stolen. His servants are all killed. Then a great windstorm destroys his home and his children. And Job's response? Then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshipped. And he said, naked I came out of my mother's womb, and naked I shall return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all these disasters, Job did not sin, nor did he blaspheme against the Lord. Well, God and Satan have another meeting, and more calamities befall Job. He has loathsome sores from the sole of his feet to the crown of his head. He was covered in cancerous sores. He curses the day he was born and laments, for the thing which I greatly fear is come upon me. We've heard that before. And that which I was afraid of has befallen me. I am not at ease, neither am I calm, nor am I at rest. And yet misfortune came. Still, Job does not curse God. Job's friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, Zophar the Naamathite, they all come to console him, and a long discourse ensues. Job persists. He has done nothing wrong. How can these calamities be a punishment? Because I haven't done anything wrong. The friends analyze, they rationalize, they argue, and the gist being, well, you must have done something, or not done something, to deserve the wrath of God. This discourse goes on for 28 chapters of poetry, and I won't do all of that. And up until now, at the end of this great long discourse, the whole conversation has been directed at Job and his righteousness, or lack thereof. And by the way, Job has convinced his friends he is a righteous man. Now enters Elihu, son of Barachel, and Barachel the Buzite. These are hard names to say. Anyway, Elihu comes in and he joins the discussion, and he takes the side of God. Elihu describes the power, the omnipresence, and the goodness of God. Finally, God gets around to talking with Job directly. And Job repents. He realizes a new understanding. He prays for his friends. He makes amends with God, and all is well. He again has a loving family and twice as much wealth as he had in the beginning. What does this story have to say about peace, you might ask, rightfully? The story is probably most often used to explore suffering as part of the human experience, or show that bad things do happen to good people. It might also be used to show how faith manifests. And all of these are true metaphysical messages. But the one I got from this latest study is Job just had a major shift in consciousness. And just a reminder for you, when we interpret the Bible stories metaphysically, each character represents some aspect of ourself. So in the beginning of this story, Job is living large in what Charles Fillmore called sense consciousness, the world of appearances, the physical world, the human world. His God understanding is somewhat superficial. Satan enters, and we know Satan represents error thought. It's that part of us that is out of alignment with our divinity. with our understanding, our God understanding, and stuff happens. In come the three friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, to help. They represent those phases of intellectual and mental thought and reason, that which is less than spiritual understanding. They represent that inner critic, that voice that's in our head, all those negative thoughts, the doubts that come in. And don't we all have those random head talks that get us nowhere? At this point, Job, the prosecuted, afflicted, anguished, aggrieved one, yearns for the relationship that he had with God. He wants that comfort again. And we all want peace, right relationship with God. It's part of that upward pull of the divine, always calling us to higher consciousness. And then comes Elihu, representing the Holy Spirit, signifying the recognition by man that his true inner self is spirit, that divine spark. Finally, Job has that conversation with God, and he gets it. He says, I have heard thee by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees thee. Now, this next piece is directly from the Metaphysical Dictionary, and it gives lots of room for tongue twisting, okay? The transition of man, this whole story of Job represents the transition of man from personal, formal righteousness, going through the motions, which is the basis of all self-righteousness, to a true interchange of heart and an entrance into the real Christ righteousness, which deals with the very thoughts and intents of the innermost consciousness, instead of merely setting right a few things in the outer. It's a coming into alignment of the human and the divine spirit indwelling. Then comes forgiveness, and with forgiveness comes healing. When Job turned to God and prayed for his friends, his captivity, all that anguish, was lifted. And Jehovah gave Job twice as much as he had before. Thus, when the awakened individual forgives and seeks the cleansing, redeeming, transmuting Christ power for the uplift of his apparent failings and shortcomings, he enters into peace, joy, and abundance. At the end of the story, metaphysically, Job represents a coming back, restored to one's senses, converted. Job made the shift from intellectual understanding to spiritual understanding. He made a shift in consciousness from God out there, separate, to the God of his being within. We call that he was born again into a new consciousness. Don't you think Job had peace as a core value? Sure he did. He certainly struggled and suffered to regain it once he lost it. And that's what I mean by peace being more than this simple definition of tranquility or freedom from disturbance. I think most of us would choose it as a core value. And for me, emotion is attached to the word peace. It's a feeling. Don't you feel it throughout your entire body, your whole being, when you're in that place of peace? And you sure do feel it when you're not. So peace is also a spiritual practice. And Job showed us how. First, turn to God. We know that as Emmett Fox's golden key. And we know that from Emily Cady. So first, turn to God. Divine presence is always within, that transmuting Christ power. Keep the single eye, as we learned in Lessons in Truth by Emily Cady. When we keep our focus on God, good, we won't be bothered by Satan, error thinking. Practice forgiveness. We lose our peace when we hold grudges or take negative behaviors personally, or get caught up in anger and harsh judgments. Forgive and pray for your adversaries. Forgive yourself. Open your heart to compassion. You'll be amazed at the sense of comfort and freedom you feel. I certainly have had that experience recently when I was able to have a shift in the way I saw an individual. And what opened for me was, it's like open heart. It was peace. Develop a consciousness of giving. Job was a giver. He gave to his family and to anyone who crossed his path having a need. That's in all those 28 chapters that we didn't go over. Okay. So part of the giving consciousness is also being a gracious receiver. Yeah. It's being in the stream, in the flow of love. And isn't that what brings such joy to this Christmas holiday season? It's a celebration of love. It's a flow. It's a free flow, giving and receiving. And along with giving, develop a practice of gratitude. Not just a practice, a consciousness of gratitude. We had some discussion of gratitude in our book group on Wednesday. And such things as, first thing on waking up in the morning, calling to mind, what am I grateful for in this moment? Starting the day with gratitude opens the way of peace and joy. Or maybe at the end of the day in contemplation of all the good things that have come your way that day. And we're all familiar with the gratitude list. Just 5 things a day will raise our consciousness. Non-resistance is another practice of peace. In Matthew 5:39, we're told, "But I say to you that you should not resist evil, but whoever strikes you on your right cheek, turn to him the other also." This is from Jane Simmons's Eye of the Storm for Teens. It's my favorite Eye of the Storm books. So, resist not evil. The master teacher knew that the more we battle with negativity, the more power we give it. We overcome obstacles not by resisting them, but by the power of spirit that is within us. And I like this. There's an Aesop's fable that tells the story of the sun and the wind. One day, the wind challenged the sun to a contest to discover which of them was more powerful. The wind boasted, "Watch that man below, wearing that cloak. I will blow it right off of him. I am the strongest." With that, the mighty wind blew and blew and blew. The harder the wind blew, the tighter the man held on to his cloak. Finally, the wind's energy was spent, and all became still. At this point, the sun came out and began to shine. It shone, and shone brighter and brighter, until the temperature rose and the man took off his cloak. The moral of the story is that gently shining our light is much more effective than blowing our minds. There you have it. To live a peace-filled life, we need to align ourselves in the divine through contemplation, meditation. Claim peace as a core value. Practice forgiveness. Pray for our adversaries. We need to develop a consciousness of giving, a consciousness of gratitude, and practice non-resistance. Let life be life and live in the flow of life. And I'd like to close with this final thought from our Advent booklet. This one is by, I believe, Martha Creek. You have the power of the universe within you to create a new experience. As you are born again into peace that surpasses all understanding, accepting the reality of what is, devoted to live by what can be, practiced in what is effective and productive, and ever transforming your consciousness and experience, you can truly celebrate the new moment, the new opportunity, and the gifts of the creative process. Live as peace, dear friends, and practice, practice, practice. After all, practice makes progress. Namaste. It's the time in our service when we get to give back. We get to practice the joy of giving, knowing that in the giving we're in the flow of receiving as well. So, join me. And for those people at home, in your joy of giving, if you just click on that donate button, you keep Unity Church of Peace moving to higher consciousness. So affirm with me our blessings of gifts and divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, that this is so. Thank you all.